We got East versus West, number 7. I just picked out 4 of my favorite matches that I seen, and I just want to get your thoughts and your predictions on this.
Okay.
And the first match would be Ongarbayev versus Todd Hutchins. I always bring up Todd Hutchins with you because I know you have a lot of experience with him.
Yeah, Todd is a very unique guy. The way he pulls, he gives a lot of those top roll specific guys trouble. I think you need to have a lot of arm, a lot of shoulder. Ongarbayev is a great athlete, but I imagine Todd would do the same thing to him. Todd could do things that John can't do. And part of that is, John's shoulder, and part of that is the way Todd molded his style. Now, John would beat Todd, but Todd will beat guys that John hasn't or can't. For instance, Todd went through Irakli pretty convincingly. And I do think that he would do the same thing to Ongarbayev. That angle that John needed, well, we saw match 1 with Ongarbayev, how when John tucked him, he really went through him. So Ongarbayev's arm strength in certain angles, it's really good. I don't know if it's great on that level. And I think Todd will be able to drive a lot harder with a guy like Ongarbayev than John was able to once it got stopped and flattened. I think it would look a lot like the Irakli match. But I did hear through the pipeline that it's probably not going to happen because his injury recently.
Wow, I got to find out about that. I thought it wasn't that serious, but I guess it was, it's messing up with his training and all, so he's not going to be able to train up, I guess.
Yeah. But I actually would pick Todd in that one.
Okay. Now, the next match I want to bring up is Dave Chaffee versus Rivas from Georgia. What do you think on that? This kid Rivas, man, he's strong. And when I met him in person, I couldn't get over how big he is. When you see him on film and all, he doesn't look as big. But when you see him in person, this guy is a monster.
He's the guy who comes forward, though, doesn't he?
Yeah.
He comes at you. I don't think anybody's going to fare really well that doesn't take a real fundamental and even if you're really strong, if you don't really respect Dave Chaffee for who and what he is and take a really fundamental approach, even Levon took a very fundamental approach with him. And, Dave at that time was very kind of like, in that match with Levon, Dave looked like he was trying to like slim down for a wedding or something. He looked lighter. He looked smaller. He looked like that bear that Dave has been. And he's been looking better each time we've seen him. We just got a win against Vitaly, who I don't think anybody really thought was going to win that match. And, Vitaly was seen as number 2, maybe even number 1. I think somebody who comes forward and gives some leverage to Dave, not just comes into him, he kind of gives away something coming to him. I think it's going to be a real big problem. It's going to be an eye-opener for people again. So I'm picking Dave in that one pretty convincing.
Now, if Rivas stops him at all and it goes into an endurance game, you think that changes the outcome at all?
Yeah, but he'd have to be very, 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 very strong to stop that drive. If you remember, it did come into an endurance game with Morozov, but I mean, Dave, when it's hit that stop, it didn't even really stop the first 2. And that wasn't because Dave's so fast and so elusive. He just fucking powered through it. Do I know it? Do I think that guy is as strong as Morozov in those areas to hold that shit off? I think he's more offensively driven, and maybe he can wedge in there. Dave's endurance is not the best, but you've got to hold him long enough to make the endurance a problem. It's like I always like to go back to combat sports because they're so in line with arm wrestling. This is a combat sport. People who think if they get Mike Tyson to deep water, they can drag him out and make him tired. Well, yeah, if you could wither all those fucking 150 punches he's throwing around, yeah. Sure, that's a great plan on paper. But what happens when you got that guy throwing a punch every second, trying to kill you? So that's kind of the same thing. It's like it's a great plan, like if I could just stop him. But therein lies the puzzle, right?
And I'd say Dave is probably the strongest guy in North America. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I'd say that. I mean, at least the Dave that I remember, the guy who was winning WAL, the guy that was thick and, heavy, I'd say that's a very fair statement.
So you would like to see Dave maybe come in 10, 20 pounds heavier than his last match. That'd make you feel a lot better.
I mean, I don't like to tell people to do things that might be, pushing their health. And I'm sure there's a reason that he was lighter and leaner. He seems to be performing good. Who knows what's going on in people's life with little injuries, health, whatever. But the Dave that was throwing Saiplenkov in his prime for a layup and beating Pushkar and stuff, I think he's in that match comfortably.
Okay. Now, the next match I want to talk about, this one excites me. It's Devon Larratt versus Gennady. What do you expect on this? Because we know that Gennady comes in with that extreme fast hit, and I mean, he comes in like an animal. Do you think it's going to present a problem for Devon, or do you think Devon's going to be able to go right through him?
I could see Gennady being a problem in round one, maybe round two, and I think it'll go very much like when I think Gennady beat Hermes, and I think the way he pulled Michael Todd, it would look like that. I think he might get the high hand control and maybe get that sneaky, strong, really side pressure pin down once he has a little bit of height, and maybe they're both a little bit flattened in the straps, and he kind of pushes down. Maybe that surge from the shoulder press. But Devon's become, for a long time now, so good in the straps and in the pronation, and guys eventually die on that bottom end. And if you give that guy any control, he's an evil, sadistic person. Like, he won't pin you because he knows the advantage he has. He's going to put your integrity in check. He's going to put your mom's watching, and you're going to do her bad by quitting like that check. And he's going to hold you, and he's going to make you will die on that table. And then every match from there is good, is sailing. And he's so good at that low, like, you can't tuck that pronation. And I've seen Gennady's wrist crack, but he's so powerful, he can kind of push down on people. And I think Devon's going to get his wrist. And at this point in time, his arm looks like it's really together. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if I'm picking Devon to win it. I think he could very easily sweep it, but I'm giving Gennady the credit for being fast and capable of that control and sneaky press to get his hand low for one or two.
Okay. I got to throw in this. Devon's been receiving these stem cells. He's been working with this company, Vitacell, who I'm also in touch with. And I got Devon coming on in the next couple of days on my channel. He's going to give his whole experience on everything that's been going on from the stem cell therapy. But I think we're about to see a completely new Devon. I mean, this guy is just, it looks like he's getting younger and more powerful, and it's kind of crazy. But I have a real strong feeling a lot of it's coming from this stem cell therapy. And, with private talks with him, that's kind of what he's been telling me.
Yeah, you know what? I messaged him about it and asked him how much was promotion and how much was real. And the feedback I got from him was that it was miraculous. And to be honest, I don't consider, because it's not, stem cells is not a performance enhancing drug or procedure or anything. It's a natural healing. And if it's something that you can live day to day better and healthier and rewind the hands of time via that, that's an avenue I would absolutely explore if it was something I could afford right now. I mean, before my shoulders got hurt, I was the guy that was beating the top super heavyweights in North America. So, my shoulders, I should have got surgery on, and they've come back periodically, but even still after hard training, I feel it. I had a ton of side pressure, and I was really complete. And when I caught an injury, it's been years and years and years. So I was like, I would look into the stem cells if it was something I could pimp the money for. I think that would make me, I think that if what Devon's telling me is true, I think that I could, if it works for me the way he's saying, I could be at the top of the food chain if the cheddar was there.
Well, put it like this, you could pay attention to my channel. I'm actually going to get the treatment in the next 2 weeks. I'm going to be flying out to Las Vegas to the clinic out there. And I got 2 surgeries on my arms, popped both bicep tendons, arm wrestling and everything. And so I get a lot of tendonitis. You know, I was just at a big practice in Florida. 50, 60 guys were over there pulling everybody. Well, I jumped on a plane, and when I got on that plane, anything, if you got any kind of injury, any kind of inflammation, it just tenfolds. I got off that plane, I went to grab my luggage, seen some stars. So, you know, I contacted my friends over at Vitacell. He's like, I'll hook you up, go over to Vegas, you know, and I'm going to document the whole thing just to show the whole arm wrestling community. I'm going to keep everybody up to date as I go through the whole process, and I'm going to let you know my own experience. But I also have a bunch of guys coming on. I got Devon Larratt, John Brezink, Ron Bath, Dan Mosier, Mike Gold. They're all been getting this treatment, and they're going to be just explaining their own individual experiences and all. So we're going to get to the bottom of this. We're going to really learn what it helps. And yeah, I'm very excited to just kind of inform the whole community about that. So definitely keep an eye out for that. Maybe it's something that you'd be interested in. You were saying you had some shoulder issues, and I'll keep you up to date myself.
Yeah, I'm very interested. And I mean, that's very, the science behind it. It's very, very interesting. It's, you know, you hear all these different things about price points and stuff like that. So whatever you got out there, I'll be watching for sure.
Sounds good. So the last match that I want to touch on, this one, I got a lot of personal interest in this one. My man, Jerry Cadorette, he's going to be pulling Hermes Gasparini. So I want to get your thoughts on this. I know we touched on it earlier, but what's your predictions? How do you think this outcome is?
Jerry can do it. I don't think Hermes has the shoulder to beat Jerry in the way that it's problematic for Jerry. And there's only a few guys that can anyways. I look at the people that Jerry's pulled, you know, like when Travis was really on top, in my opinion, and people will talk that shit. I know, I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. But in my opinion, the best version of Travis that we see, that I became a fan of and friends with, I think was better than Hermes, even the one we're seeing now, in my opinion, right? But Travis was not for the same reasons, but he was privy to the same kind of path I walked. Once he kind of got to a certain point, he kind of fall off and then have to get motivated and fall back on. You know, mine wasn't for the same reasons his was, but I don't really know someone's reasons deep down inside. But we all know that a lot of things people say about me, I know that they said about Travis as well, which was like, well, what version of Travis is going to show up? And the Travis that would show up if he was really motivated and whatnot, I think would be Hermes and Dennis. I think stylistically he'd be a nightmare for someone like that. And Devon, when Travis was that guy, Jerry, when Travis was that guy, I was in the front row. I went down to Connecticut to see it, the $10,000 match, the OG super match. And I was there. I was brand new to arm wrestling. I was fucking excited. I was everywhere. And I was right the fuck there in the front. And I watched that Jerry and Travis match, and Jerry pulled it off. And I was with Jerry on my 30th birthday in Venice Beach when he did the same thing with John Brezink. So Jerry's been really good at doing things that he's not supposed to do. So at this point in time, I mean, Jerry's a big boy. I've been out to eat with Jerry. I've kicked it with Jerry. And if you told me that he could be in a match for 7 minutes the way he was, I was 110%. My wife is works in a nurse. She's a nurse. She travels around different hospitals. She's a specialist and all this shit. I was like putting her on deck. Like, you're gonna have to give her buddy boy CPR. Like, I was like, there's no fucking way this guy can go 7 minutes and then get back on a table. You know what I mean? He's a big fucking cat, and he was red and he was sweating, but he did it again and again and a fucking again. He's just the guy that keeps doing things that people say he shouldn't do. I heard through the pipeline that Georgie was going to fucking kill him. And he didn't just beat Georgie. In one of the matches, he dad moved the motherfucker. Yeah. He grabbed him around his forearm. Yep. I mean, of course, a lot of it's, you know, his elbow and conditioning, whatever it is. The angle he takes on people, he just keeps doing it. And I think Hermes could do it if he threw his shoulder on top of it early enough, but I think he's going to get thrown off balance too fast because people don't realize big boy Jerry is actually very fast. He's
Super.
very fast. So you need to get him, in the center and with your shoulder on top of his hand with a top position. But everybody feels safe backing up like this on their forearm. And
Worst thing
then
you could do.
you're fighting when he gets that big wide frame behind it. Now you're fighting that and you're trying to do it with a brachialis and a bicep. And people will hang it.
Usually
But
pops.
yeah, what they need to do to him, what you need to do to Jerry to beat Jerry, I don't think Hermes has the toolbox.
So a lot of guys don't know is when you pull Jerry, it's not fun. It hurts. And like you said, if you go back at all and you're on that bicep, he's popping a lot of these guys' biceps. I mean, they don't like to say it in the public or whatever. I hear actually what happens to them after. And then the other thing that happens is when he's on your bicep and he's hanging and you do any kind of side pressure, most of the time you're blowing out your pec. And he did that both guys. He did that to Gennady. He did that to Georgie. A lot of people don't know that. But
no, it doesn't surprise me at all. I've been watching Jerry. Jerry was in a little bit of a layoff when I came in the sport, but probably about 2 years after he came back. And, Jerry's been Jerry this whole time. And I actually just talked to him the other day and I'm excited that he's going to be pulling, because the problem is when Jerry's not pulling, he'd show up to practice sporadically. You might not get him for a couple months and then he shows up and then he tells you he's going to show up and then he doesn't. But now, whereas I just called him the other day, I'm only at where he trains like a little more than an hour. I was like, "Are you back training?" He's like, "Yeah. What about you?" So him and I are gonna get together because we're both in the same position. We got good guys around us, but we need to do what like these Bulgarians and Russians are doing, which is getting the best guys. Yeah. So I need someone. He needs somebody that's going to put him in the lane like Hermes would, and with my hand and wrist and general power, I can try to emulate those lanes. And he could just give me that raw torque where if I'm doing, things with that, I don't think I'm going to be getting from somebody near my weight class. He's going to be giving me more torque than those guys that are creeping sub 250, So it's great. We'll be great together and I look forward to it. But right now, I mean, how can you bet against the fucking guy? He's the Rocky Balboa of the sport right now.
Yeah, I agree. And, before with the Georgie match, he was coming off of that injury with his shoulder. We went to Maryland to Dave Morocco's practice and he hurt his shoulder. And I seen it that day, he wasn't the normal Jerry. And he was still willing to take that Hermes match and everything. But Engen didn't feel like if it would be right, So he was like, you're going to drop this one. Waited for the Georgie match, but now a lot of people don't understand is he didn't lift no weights for Georgie, but he was practicing every week on the table. He just wasn't able to do the benching that he relies on so much and all. So now he has me hitting him up all the time, every day. He's supposed to be at practice. I'm hitting up the guys at practice. I'm hitting up Jimmy and all them and making sure, hey, is he there? Is he training? I'm on top of him. We got him on a program. His wife, Kate, is on top of him too. She's making sure that when he comes home from his hard days at work and everything, right to the garage, hit that gym, they don't let him hang out anymore. So,
and people want to say it's how he pulls. They don't like the way he pulls. And that's just because he's a refuse to quit guy. So when you see somebody like Travis, who is very calculated, he wanted to get those starts and get nice, easy kills. He didn't usually grind. Jerry will come at you, he'll fight you, but they don't realize that people think that, you take his hand and all he's got is a flat wrist. I tell people, I'm like, you're going to see if you throw him in a fucking hook, you're going to see. They don't realize that guy, how wide he is, and he's benching, what, 5, 6? I don't know what he benches.
Bro, he got down. It was 405. I was hanging out with him, and he just jumps right down. He's in his flip-flops and everything. Starts hitting 405 30-something times. Then jumps up on this pull-up bar, but it's not a bar. He's got a wood plank, and he grabs on the sides. Bro, he's busting like 20, 25 of these, and you're looking, and you're like, dude, this guy's 330 pounds. How are you moving like this? He's a genetic freak, bro. You know what I mean? That's the only thing
I remember telling people, like, I had a conversation with Matt Mask. So when Matt was running hot and Matt was, beating everybody in the WAL and he was doing good. I consider Matt Mask a friend. but I've known Jerry a long time, and he's a friend. But I was equal with both of them as far as talking about the match. I didn't show favoritism. So, Jerry, I knew Jerry was going to have his plan. And I went to Matt and I says, hey, what's your plan with Jerry? And he's like, oh, man, my hand's so strong right now. I'm just going to fucking bust him and run him over. And I was like, no, you're not. That's a bad move. I was like, you got to get that shoulder in there. He's like, oh, man, you don't understand. You'll see. I was like, no, you're going to see. And then in one of those matches, like, it went like, kind of got his hand and Jerry's like, "Roar!" and almost broke his shit up. Like, same thing with when people think that, like, he doesn't have an arm or a hook. When he pulled Todd Hutchings, who people have so much respect for that side pressure and power, they both kind of hit that inside shoulder, and Jerry just drove straight down on him, which is something very few people have done. I've seen him beat Richard Lupke's in a hook when Richard Lupke's was really strong. So it's like, they don't realize how body strong he is, like as a human being, how strong he is. So he falls in those lanes because people are actually petrified to feel the other ones. They're too afraid to try the other ones.
And what people don't understand is when you go to practice with Jerry, he never does the press on anybody because there's nobody there that's going to withstand it. Now, if you showed up or whatever, he's going to use the press. It's only like the elite top that could handle something.
I like him to do it to me because he gives me more down pressure than I would feel from another guy. So if I was to go pull somebody at East versus West, I'm going to be knocking on Jerry's door almost every week because that level of down pressure is big, and as strong as he is and as proficient as he is, I don't care if it's like when you're trying to break a plateau in lifting, you do negatives, right? You fucking pull out those negatives to break that plateau. He's the guy that if you can hold him for a second, that's good. Next time you come, you might hold for 3. You get to the point when you can hold him and work with him, especially if you're weight class restricted, you're doing really good. You're doing really, really good. Yeah, I got a lot of respect for him, and I just, people can bitch about his style, but they also got a choice to try something else. I like his style because he refuses to quit. I don't equate his style with the King's move. I think the King's move is evasive. It's almost like forfeit arm wrestling. People argue that it has its place, but I think when you got a guy who's coming at you and coming forward and his shoulders tall, he's not trying to evade shit. He's coming. He's saying, come at me, bro. And I don't think that what he does is anything other than full commitment.
Testing your frame. That's kind of what it is, where, the King's move is you're kind of in desperation. This is a last resort kind of move, where that press, bro, I feel like it's very offensive, and, that's what he's trying to do. But the other move that Eddie loves is, like you said, he loves the hook, and Gennady found that out round 3 with his match. Gennady turned into the hook, and Jerry just went right through him like he wasn't there. And we all know Gennady's got a pretty strong hook. So,
yeah, like Jerry's hook is it's top of the world. It's there's only a few guys that would, that would be able to fuck with it. And I don't really even know who they would be. Maybe Dave.
Let me ask you this though. Devon called out Jerry, and Jerry's been hearing a lot of slack, saying that he's avoiding him and everything. But when you put yourself in Jerry's situation, he's lined up for number 1 right now. He's got Hermes next. He wins that. Or if Hermes beats Levon this weekend, he could be going for number 1 at East versus West. But let's just say Levon gets the win. Jerry beats Hermes. He's next in line for Levon. So I kind of understand him not taking the match with Devon as of right now, because if he does suffer a loss, it's obviously going to take him off the path of number 1. But let's say that this match does happen. I could arrange this to go down. What do you think is going to happen? Do you think Devon still has what it takes to beat Jerry? Because we know that he got the win back in the day in WAL.
If I'm being honest, I was in person for that match with Devon and Jerry, and I think that there was a little bit of fuckery there. I mean, I do think that match was incredibly close, and I do think on a different day, it could have gone a different way. So if we're fast forwarding, we're saying that, like, we're seeing Devon, healthy, strong, whatnot, bigger. So it would seem like it would be lopsided, but we're also seeing, as you're saying, Jerry's more motivated. He's training. He's taking things a little more seriously. So if they were like this, at WAL and, with some maybe even with different calls, different setups, different ref, it could go one way or the other. It could flip very easy. To say that they weren't perfectly equal there is foolish. And then if they both went up, Devon went up and Jerry went up, well, there's no reason that it couldn't be the same type of match. I think that the thing is like Devon got stem cells. He's had some bicep issues. The same thing that I said with Gennady being able to pull off the win against Devon. I think with the problem be Gennady's like shoulder press coming forward. I think Jerry's a little bit of an exaggerated version, and he's the best presser in the world. Jerry's the best presser in the world. So if you are even a little bit susceptible to that move, which almost everybody is, he's going to be a big problem for you. And now that's not me making a prediction. I just think that people thinking that he's not in it. Now, I know that Devon has a plan for pulling Jerry, and with his confidence in the angle, I think it could be problematic, but that's if he hits it because Jerry's very fast.
I agree with that. It could go either way. Who's going to be the better man that day? But for people that on the internet, what you hear is that it's not even close. That's just out of their mind. Because I know anybody that's pulled Jerry, they don't agree with that. They say just like you were saying right there.
Well, and the funny thing is that people don't realize about matches is you could kill someone 6-0 or get killed 6-0. It doesn't mean it wasn't a close match. It doesn't mean that it wasn't a worthy match to put on. It just means that sometimes that day, that setup, little fucking things that add up to 0.5% here, a little bit there. You could go to start and this guy hits you and pops your wrist, and now on your next start, your wrist is like feeling a little bit wobbly because you got that hard negative. There are times that matches. How do you take we'll say, Todd Hutchings and Zoloev had a match years back in Las Vegas, and Todd blew him out of the water, or so it looked. Zoloev couldn't really do much with him, but we don't know how close it really was. All we see is result. Todd beat him 6-0. Yeah. The next time they had a match, Zoloev beat him 6-0.
Yep.
Think about how flip-floppy that is. When you only see numbers, you go, oh, you lost 6-0. On that day, it could have been 100 if they pulled 100 times. Yep. So the number is really an exaggeration of the truth. It's a way of supporting, oh, he won 6-0. But on the little nuances that could flip-flop, Todd beat him 6-0 the next time they pulled, and Todd was even stronger the next time they pulled, but so is Zoloev. Zoloev beat him 6-0. So it's kind of like people see only results, and they think that was a stupid fucking match. You could lose 6-0 and be right fucking there.
I totally agree with that. Well, I want to thank you, RVJ, for coming on, brother. Before we call it a night, is there anything you'd like to say, anything you'd like to put out there? And I just want to reiterate one more time. So we have put out a challenge, Italia ArmWrestling Promotions, putting $5,000 up. If Leonidas and Devon want to come through, and this is for a match between Leonidas and RVJ, we can make this happen. It's going to go down in Massachusetts. So let's get that out there to the universe, and let's see what happens. And we'll see what the answer back is. Like I
said, just give me the respect. I'm not one of these guys that trains like them. I'm trying to get on a program a little bit because I've got hopes and dreams and aspirations. So just give me a week notice and I'm good with it. Don't show up at my house tonight saying you want that money. Don't take a flight here right away. Give me a hot minute. But yeah, I'll pull the guy. I mean, by all means, he's Devon's protege. He's supposed to be a freak. He's bigger than me. He's heavier than me. He's pancaked and everything. So at least just give me a little time to get my excuses ready. That's all I need.
Well, I got a lot of respect for that, bro, because just to say 1 week, that's a gangster move right there. Because most people, they'd be like, oh, yeah, I need like a month, 2 months. They'd have all this.
Nah, they got to peek out. I don't. I just got to, make sure I'm at least hydrated and got some sleep.
I love it, bro. That's what I like about you. And I'm very excited that you're going to be back in action. April, May, we could expect to see RVJ active. And like I said, I'm going to be trying to keep you busy, brother. I got a lot of big plans and a lot of things going to be going on here in the United States, and I'd love to have you a part of them all.
Much appreciated, man. I'm excited.
Sounds good, brother. And I will definitely keep you up to date with the stem cells. And I could actually link you up with the guy with VitaCell and all that. And maybe you could also get that shoulder work done as well.
Yeah, man. I'm excited to hear about it. Real, non-salesy stuff. I like real studies, case studies from people that have actually experienced it.
All right. Well, we'll get you that, brother. Thank you again, RVJ. Have a great night,
All right,
brother.
dude. We'll talk soon. Chill.